In a break with at least recent tradition, the Senate voted to state the obvious, admit the obvious, that climate change is actually real. It is not a massive hoax perpetrated by scientists, Al Gore, I don't know. It is actually real. So there was an amendment to the Keystone XL pipeline bill that was voted on, and we have the results. The hoax amendment to the pipeline bill from Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island passed 98-1, with only Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker, the chairman of the Senate Republican campaign arm, voting no. We always admire when there's that one politician who will stand up for what's right and vote against, like, the Patriot Act or the Iraq War. He is voting against reality, and he is on the record now.
It's amazing.
Now, the GOP yes votes also included, by the way, most importantly, 3 of the GOP's leading contenders for the White House, Senators Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Marco Rubio, voting that yes, it's real. It is not a hoax. Now, unfortunately, the amendment bill did not go much farther than that. We would have liked for it to say it's not a hoax and it is man-made and we're contributing to it right now. And in fact, we should do something about it. That's not the bill, the amendment that we actually had voted on. Others were considered. We'll get to one of those soon. But I think that this is positive. 98 senators agree with it, slightly more than the 97% of scientists who believe that humanity is contributing to climate change.
I've been saying this since the State of the Union night. So literally
for hours,
for nearly 2 days. It suddenly occurred to me on election night as we were watching and live doing the play-by-play. What's the point? Why don't they just say, why doesn't the Republicans just say, absolutely, global warming is here and it's a problem and we caused some of it?
Well, because if you admit that it's a problem, then I think a reasonable person would say, then shouldn't we do something about it?
Yeah, but they won't. So then get tied up in 20 years, but then say instantly, but it's not as bad as that, and the changes that they are proposing would have devastating economic consequences on regular Americans, and we'd lose millions of jobs, and we're not prepared to do that. And I just don't understand why they make themselves seem so dumb. I mean, I think the answer was in
Some
the
of them can't help it. Okay?
The answer
doing their best.
The answer was in the question.
Yeah.
And this would seem to be an indication that they thought, so we'll just say yes. We'll just say yes, and then we'll deny the man-made part. They won't go that far.
Yeah, so, I mean, not to be a pessimist or not to be the wet noodle in this conversation, but, I mean, this does nothing for me. Wet noodle's a
It does nothing.
term.
You feel nothing as a result
No,
of this.
I mean, I'm glad
blanket,
that I'm glad that finally the moronic politicians in our country are conceding that climate change is real. But that's where we are in the country right now. We finally got politicians, our elected officials, to admit that climate change is real. But they're still denying that it's man-made. They're still denying any type of real action to mitigate some of the consequences that we're already seeing from climate change. So this story is, positive on its face, but it also makes America look idiotic because we're still stuck on this stupid conversation.
Yeah. I think in reference to what you were saying about it seems like an odd strategy to continue on, Ben. I think there's two things that we should know. One, that there are some Republicans at least who are already admitting that it's real, but saying that the economic consequences of doing literally anything about it would be too severe. So a few are doing that. But I also think, look, I don't know what percentage of Republican senators actually believe that it's real or not. I would assume that most actually believe it's real, probably believe that we're contributing to it. They have meetings with scientists, some of which are persuasive. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he makes a good case. And so I think that many of them probably believe it. And I think that is just, they're willing in 10 years perhaps to be forced to the position of arguing about the economic consequences. I think as long as they can hold out on the argument against science, they don't have to have a much more complicated discussion about the effect on the economy of doing something about it. Because it's easy for some Republicans right now to say that if we were to do carbon sequestration or carbon caps or things like that, it would stifle economic growth. But then that can be countered by others who say, well, look at the solar industry. It's employing tons of people, more and more every year. We produce more solar capacity in one day than we did in the first 10 years of solar. That sort of thing. You can actually get into an economic argument for the benefits of doing something about it. And I don't think they want to have that argument at all.
It's so stupid. I mean, we should be world leaders when it comes to investing in renewable energy, and it's something that we've completely ignored. Or not completely ignored, but for the most part we've ignored. And we go back to the stupid argument that, hey, Solyndra went under, and so it's a waste of money. We shouldn't be investing in that. But you know what else has a big economic impact? climate change, right? So when we have a difficult time growing crops because the weather patterns are unpredictable, that's going to have an economic consequence, not just in the United States, but in other countries as well. And that can definitely lead to more serious consequences, like, I don't know, war over resources, over food.
Massive displacements of populations.
Exactly.
And even if the extreme examples prove, and that there is scientific debate over, like what the results, how severe the results will be. I mean, even the least severe results are worth trying to tamp down. I mean,
the results we're experiencing today
are worth it,
are bad, let alone in 2100. One other aspect of this that we do want to talk about, and it's something that over the course of the next year we're going to talk about more and more, is where the potential presidential nominees come down on the important issues of the day. This is an important issue not just for today, but for the rest of, I guess, the future of humanity. And we would like it to last a while, so perhaps we should do something about climate change. So we've got Mitt Romney being clear in a statement that he put out today that he does believe that the Earth is warming. Beyond that, he believes that we're contributing to it, and he even seems like he might want to do something about it were he to become president. And that is beyond most of the other potential Republican nominees. But we do have a positive sign about at least one other one. Now, we told you there were multiple amendments that were debated before the Sheldon Whitehouse amendment was actually was voted on. Senator John Hoeven of North Dakota put forward an alternative amendment that the Keystone Oil Pipeline would not significantly impact the environment or contribute to global emissions. The provision included a line stating that humans contribute to climate change, but without the word significantly. So that was the major change, but it does say that we contribute to it. 15 Republicans voted for that amendment, including Rand Paul, making him the only 2016 contender to go on record as saying that human beings contribute to climate change. So that goes slightly beyond the larger 98-1 amendment that we talked about. I don't know if he now is going to have ads run against him because how dare you acknowledge that? But it was, at least in the current political environment, a somewhat brave move to make, I suppose.